Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
It's me, Wednesday Addams. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. Normally I'd be against this type of capitalistic corporate synergy. But when the other pigtailed provocateur said I could concoct my own Frosty, I melted. My meal is tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with the snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu mogu.
Moku moku!
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good evening, my dear friends. It is 7:41 p.m. on Wednesday, September 24, 2025. My name is Troy Torres, and I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I've been awake since 4:30 in the morning. I've been on the go. There's been a lot of news. There's been a lot of opinion. There's been a whole lot that's been happening over this past week. And so, thank you. Thank you, despite how tired I look. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. I very much appreciate all of you who are joining me live. Irene, Auntie Bennett, Brennan, Jen, Teresa, Bernie, Millie, Lillian, and Jerry. Thank you so much for your live comments. And those of you who will make live comments, I might not be able to pay attention fully while I'm talking, but I will every now and then glance there, and I would absolutely read the comments afterward. To those of you who are watching live, thank you so much. For those of you who will be watching the replay and will be commenting on the replay, thank you all so much. We very much appreciate your readership and your viewership of Kandit in all our news, our editorial, and even our opinions that come in from people from all walks of life and varying degrees of political patronage. God bless you all. You know, so there is, we've got this program with Pacific Grocers, right? We call it a blessings program. Pacific Grocers is if I'm not mistaken, the largest distributor of groceries and other things in this island. They have just a gigantic warehouse, right? So they've been around for the 30 some years, and they called us up and they were like, hey, you know, we want to start giving back to the community. We noticed that your platform has a lot of followers. We'd like to partner with you in a blessings program where we give you stuff and you give these things to wherever you think it's needed in the community. And yeah, there have been things like giving to Lighthouse Recovery Center, or a couple of other organizations, right? But where I've really been putting these blessings, thanks to Pacific Grocers, is to the poor, people who are unhoused. They don't have proper structures to live in, or they're not, you know, they don't live under any structure at all. They just live at the beach or sleep at the beach and do their thing throughout Tumon or Dededo or Agana or whatever, right? There's a point to all this that goes to this whole Tenorio thing. I needed to tell this story because I was thinking about it right before I got on, and it's what really inspired me as I was listening to Filipino Christmas music, and I was thinking about this show, right? So because of this blessings program, I've gotten to be a better Christian. And what I mean by that is I've gotten to speak with and become friends with a few people who are unhoused in this island. And among them, and we'll call her Rosemary. That's not her name, but I'm just going to call her Rosemary so I can better respect her privacy. So she messaged me 2 days ago. And she said, Rosemary said, hey, friend, I was wondering if you're in Tuman. It's like, no, I'm sorry, Rosemary. I'm in Jigo and I don't even have the car right now. She said, okay, because I'm hungry. And I said, okay, Rosemary, you know what? I can't be going to Tuman from Jigo like all the time, right? And so sometimes it's I'll give stuff from Pacific Grocers. Sometimes I'll just give stuff from me, right? And so this was maybe like the 5th day in a row that she was asking for food. And we also had a conversation about it. She does have SNAP. She has food stamps. And she told me that she gets her SNAP on the 10th of the month. And it was the 7th of the month. Yeah, the 17th of the month where she started to ask me for food like every day, right? And so I asked her a couple of days ago, I said, Rosemary, why did you run out of SNAP 7 days after your refill? I was like, but first I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to go to Happy Mart. I'm going to get you some stuff for the week. And then, it's a little cheaper to get, and I'll get her stuff from Pacific Grocers, from their Blessings program, whatever, right? But I still wanted to know, why did you run out of food stamps 7 days after you got reloaded by the SNAP program? And she said, friend, the food at ABC store and at, I can't remember what other store she said, but it's expensive. And one of the things I didn't consider is it's not like she can go to the grocery store and stock up for the week, because where is she going to put that stuff? Even if it wasn't refrigerated stuff, where is she going to put it? They don't have anywhere to store stuff. And they could leave it in a place, but there are other homeless people and it might get stolen. Very likely will get stolen, right? And so they have to buy food every day, a day at a time, right? If they have money, if they can afford to buy food. And so one of the things I said, and I stopped myself here when I said, hey, but Kmart's cheaper. Why don't you guys go to Kmart? And then I stopped in the middle of that. I remember this very vividly. I stopped in the middle of that and I thought to myself, why the hell am I grilling this woman when what I should be grilling is the administration and the use and the abuse of millions of dollars in federal and local funds from the enrichment of the lieutenant governor's family? Why do I care to grill this woman who is unhoused and is just asking for food, which just costs a few dollars and a few moments of my time or anybody else's time, anybody else's money, when there's a multi-million-dollar scheme that's been uncovered by the federal government that's in court right now, that it involves the most powerful people in this island? What the hell do I care? Why is my focus not on grilling Adelup officials, administration officials? And it brings things into perspective about the sorts of things that we criticize in life and the focus that we have, and understanding what our priorities should be as citizens, because we shouldn't be concerned. We shouldn't be so critical and scrutinizing the lot of the poor and those who have such a difficult time just trying to get by one day at a time. Yet in front of our faces, you have people who we elect into public office and the people who they appoint into positions that we pay for as taxpayers. And at their disposal is $1.3 billion in local and federal revenues. And they're stealing from us. And their heist is worth thousands, tens of thousands of percentages above, hundreds of thousands of percentages above what the poor are asking for: a meal. And when FBI Special Agent Jamie Cavitt's August 12, 2024 warrants were unsealed yesterday, and we saw in those warrants further details of this alleged conspiracy involving the lieutenant governor's family. And then when you get to paragraph 22 in warrant number 96 and paragraph 20 in warrant number 95, and you see that according to this FBI agent, the governor of Guam and the lieutenant governor of Guam and the director of labor knew about this investigation since 2021, and someone tipped off the co-conspirators since 2021. And one of those co-conspirators allegedly used that information to go and tamper with 24 witnesses in the case, trying to cover up the case, trying to prevent the FBI investigation from being turned into a District Court of Guam case. The levers of power being used by the people who we elected into government, entrusted with that power, used to attempt to cover up the abuses of those power in order to enrich themselves, allegedly, right? And all the while, since 2021, you have a governor and lieutenant governor who've been telling us that they've been the greatest managers of the finances of the government of Guam. You can trust them. They've been accountable. They've been fully transparent. And anytime anybody would question them, they have their trolls from Adelup attack you online on social media. Anytime you are critical of the administration, you want to scrutinize something that they've said that doesn't make sense, you get attacked by their trolls on social media. They went into a re-election in 2022. They said all kinds of things about Mike Nicholas and the whole ethics thing that went nowhere, by the way, and accused him of being corrupt, all the while knowing that the single largest corruption case in the history of the government of Guam was being investigated against their own administration, and not just their own administration. Half of the immediate family members of the lieutenant governor of Guam ended up being indicted. This entire time they knew, and they said nothing. Up to this day, they're trying to figure out their story. They released a statement earlier today to questions that I asked last night. And one of the questions that I asked last night was very simple. It was yes or no for the governor. Yes or no, governor? When you found out from Director of Labor David De La Sola in 2021 that the feds were asking these questions, did you tip off Torres Tenorio or any of the co-conspirators? They have yet to answer that question. Instead, we get this semantics parsed statement from Adelup, for which we have to ask follow-up questions to make sure that what they're saying is what's being conveyed. They still, the Crystal Palquist and Augustine said, I'll have to get back to you. I'm sure what's happening is they have to run it by the lawyers to make sure that whatever they're saying is going to be parsed out for semantics. You have the administration continuing to be dishonest after this entire time, not telling us back in 2021 to not giving us straight answers today, and everything in between, from every FOIA that they have failed to disclose, every question that they have failed to answer directly or even at all, every statement that they made that we have found out has since been contradicted by the FBI or the U.S. attorney. We have a situation where we cannot trust what is coming out of the mouths of the people at Adelup, because for whatever reason, they feel that it is important to protect whatever has gone on involving the lieutenant governor's family, Maybe because the lieutenant governor is running for governor. I don't know. Maybe they're all hitching their ride to the lieutenant governor winning and becoming the governor in 2027. I don't know. I don't know why. It's bizarre to me. Because while they're at it, the governor's legacy is tanking every single second that this goes by. Every new view that any of these video editorials get, every share of the news stories by KOAM, PDN, The Post, and Kandit. And as Senator Chris Duenas would point out, every view that these stories get by our federal grantors who are watching, make no mistake, they are watching about the mounting levels of allegations of corruption against the local government and the use of federal funds as well. And so when Senator Chris Duenas came out today and he told us, these were in reply to questions that we asked him. We asked him if he was going to consider impaneling a blue ribbon special investigative committee to probe what has been found, to probe this idea these allegations that the governor and the lieutenant governor since 2021 knew about this investigation and said nothing. And also to probe, what if you knew since 2021, what did you do to make sure that no further corruption happened? And if you did those things, then why did these same businesses continue to get contracts with your agencies throughout the government of Guam? These things need to be answered by the administration. And they're not answering the questions from the media. And so I was pretty heartened when Senator Chris Duenas responded and said, matter of fact, I'm going to be talking with my colleagues about it. Yeah, I want to impanel a special investigative committee. Let me explain to you how significant that is. You have each of these committees of the legislature, right? They have their subject areas. Like you have Senator Shelley Calvo. She's in charge of stuff like Guam Historic Preservation Trust, the Department of Chamorro Affairs, a lot of cultural stuff, the youth, the Manamku, right? I think she has Department of Youth Affairs, if I'm not mistaken. She has the Division of Senior Citizens over at Department of Public Health. So all these things kind of fall under her, right? Senator Sabrina Salas Matanani, she has the Guam Memorial Hospital, Department of Public Health, etc., right? Senator Chris Duenas has an interesting and very powerful committee. He has the finance and budget. He's the guy in charge of the budget. The legislature also made him the oversight chairman of the governor's office, which is when whoever gets the governor's office as their oversight kind of gets like an easy, it's sort of like an easy job for them, because legislatures rarely exercise oversight over the governor's office. It's a gentleman's agreement between the two political branches of government, where the governor's office in the formulation of the budget, in the criticism of how the legislature spends its money, it shuts its mouth. The gentleman's agreement is the governor's office shuts its mouth about what the legislature does with its money, and in return, the legislature shuts its mouth about what the governor's office does with its money. It's an age-old gentleman's agreement. Every single administration and legislature does it. There have been a couple of times where lines were almost crossed. I remember that happening in both the Camacho and the Calvo administrations, but cooler heads prevailed, and nobody wanted to get into that battle, because once you cross those lines, it's kind of hard to take it back, right? So when you have oversight hearings, when these committees have these oversight hearings and they bring in agencies, and that's when they grill them, right? And you ever notice that if the senators are not that good at grilling agency heads, or if the agency heads are just that much more charming, or they're able to parse their words just the right way and the senators are not clever enough to pick it up, you have situations where there is a stalemate or there is an impasse. And whatever it is that the public is wanting to know and wanting the senators to find out, they're not able to do that because the agency head, or whoever who is answering for during the oversight hearing from the agency, is able to say things like, I cannot answer that right now, or I did not bring the document, or, I'm not at liberty. This is under some sort of investigation, yada, 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 right? That's not where the legislature's oversight authority ends, though. There is a rarely invoked power that senators have that's in their standing rules, and it's also defined in the law, that allows, and it's such a powerful power that it's unlike an oversight hearing where it's only a committee chairman who needs to, issue a notice. Oh, I've decided we're going to have an oversight hearing, right? And you don't have to worry about the other members of the committee saying yes or no to it. You don't have to worry about any of the rest of the legislature saying yes or no. A committee chairman has this power to call an oversight hearing. Well, a special investigative committee is such a powerful tool at the disposal of committee chairs that you cannot just convene and create a special investigative committee on your own, or even by a majority of vote of the members of your committee. You have to introduce a resolution, and the majority of the members of the legislature have to authorize the creation of a special investigative committee, and it has to have a scope in a resolution. And the committee can only investigate within that scope that the legislature authorizes. And the reason that you need the legislature to authorize it, the reason it's been structured this way is because this committee has broad powers. Once it is authorized, its committee chairman or a majority of the members of the investigative committee are able to issue subpoenas under contempt of the legislature, which is a crime if you violate it. Issue subpoenas for documents and issue subpoenas requiring people to come before the committee and to testify and to compel their testimony, even if something is under investigation, and answer questions even if it would not normally be disclosed in an oversight hearing. This is a very powerful thing. And so it's been rarely invoked by the legislature. I have absolutely no recollection of a special investigative committee being convened during the Calvo administration. I have zero recollection of any investigative committee being convened during the Camacho administration. The last time, if my memory serves me correctly, that there was a special investigative committee that was convened, it was by a Senator Joe Ada, and it was during the whole issue about, you remember the whole thing with there being a do not disconnect list at Guam Power Authority, and it was during the Gutierrez administration. So the fact that Senator Chris Duenas is mulling with this idea and has confirmed that he is going to talk to his colleagues to try to convince them to authorize a special investigative committee under his jurisdiction to probe what has been found, what has been alleged by the FBI special agent in these two warrants, and more broadly, what has been the governor and lieutenant governor's involvement in this Tenorio corruption case? When did this involvement start? Was there obstruction of justice or obstruction of a federal investigation that happened? What steps did governor's office, employees, agency heads, the governor, lieutenant governor take once they found out that there were these investigations happening involving the possible theft of millions of dollars in federal program funds? What steps were taken to prevent that sort of thing from happening in the future? There are so many questions that we need answered, so many questions that Adelup and the agencies have failed to answer. So many answers that they've given that we've since found out, at least if you compare it against what the feds are saying, are not honest. And so in the story that I did, some people were saying, that this is not the legislature's lane, or like the legislature should focus on other things. Absolutely not. Because you and me, we don't have subpoena power. And yeah, sure. I love that the feds are prosecuting this case, and absolutely they need to prosecute that case. But that case involves only 7 people. That case is not bringing to light everything else that perhaps is not a federal crime, but either is a local crime or needs to be exposed for being completely unethical and immoral. And so if you and I don't have that power, and the Attorney General's office is that they're going through their thing to figure out the crimes that have been committed allegedly regarding the contracts, I think we absolutely need the senators to spend some time on this to get answers for us. Look what's happening in the Philippines. Is anyone paying attention to just how wonderful, how almost cathartic you can feel the catharsis of the people as their Congress has impaneled a blue ribbon committee, authorized a blue ribbon committee to investigate this whole flood control scandal of about $1 trillion pesos or billions of US dollars in corruption that has inured to the benefit of contractors who are close to and even related to politicians and to politicians who are on the take. Oh, the Filipino people are pissed in a unified sort of way. And it's part of the catharsis of this whole thing, part of what's helping to assuage their confidence or their lack of confidence in the government that has happened because of this scandal, is that their Congress is actually probing this and getting answers every single day. Almost every day of this investigation that's happening in the Philippines, you have members of Congress able to extract from the witnesses names of members of Congress and members of the government who allegedly have been involved in both the scandal and the attempted cover-up of it. It's just something wonderful to watch. If you're someone who just, you're just waiting for the elite to have their day so that the people can finally win something. Watch what's happening in the Philippines. And then a little closer to home, look what happened in the CNMI. You had almost a people power takeover where the House of Representatives impaneled an investigative committee authorized by the House, a majority vote of the House, and they impeached Governor Ralph Torres after a lengthy investigation that was on camera for everybody to see. It was live. We covered it live. We provided it live. And you had very competent members of the legislature over there probing witnesses, extracting information, helping to get all of the people of the CNMI, the answers that they were looking for. And there was a measure of justice that was doled out. So if our legislators are going to do that, if they are going to go into an investigative committee process, serious, having done their homework, prepared to ask the right questions, prepared to extract information, to look in the right places, to gather that information, not only is it an opportunity to help answer the questions that we all have in the public about what this administration has been up to, but perhaps laying the groundwork for criminal investigations that the Attorney General can just easily pick up from the legislative investigation and do something about it. This is a significant step forward, in my opinion. And I'm glad Senator Chris Duenas is doing it. I would have been extremely disappointed if he didn't, actually. And it's my hope that at least 7 other senators in the Guam Legislature have the courage and the intestinal fortitude to say yes to this resolution as well. Because you know what? We are worth it. We do deserve it. And we should be looking at the corruption of this government and how honest and dishonest it has been. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Thank you. God bless you and good night.
You asked, we delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off. Or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
Dare to try? Something new? Life's too short!
You gotta chill with a snackable drink.
Life is too short. Hey, you gotta chill.
Mogu Mogu.
Maku maku!
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.